So last week I went to the library, and in the new releases there was a book called Out of Oz by Gregory Maguire, and it's the last book of the Oz, the Wicked series. And if you thought you were going to go see Wicked, or you think you might read this book called Out of Oz, go away right now. I don't want to spoil it for you. But I always said that Wicked, the musical, was such a sugar-coated version of Wicked, the story. And even though I enjoyed them both for what they were, I definitely was pulled more towards the book because the book was so much deeper. I am the type of person who, when I want to know how it's going to end, to see if I'm going to invest all my time and energy in this 569 pages, I want to know that it has an ending to please. And I thought to myself, well, in the book Wicked, she really dies. She doesn't fake her death. Going back to Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, she really dies. And I thought, is there a possibility that she maybe not be dead? So I'm the type, I go to the end of the book and I'm reading through the last chapter and there's really no mention. So then I kind of browse backwards, and at one point I see, like Rain, who is her granddaughter, say something like, somebody who's talking about possibly Elphaba coming back, and she's like, you silly, she's not coming back. Darn, and the whole thing is, okay, switching gears here now. Today I had coffee with a friend and we were talking about our life situations, and she said, you really hit it well, because nobody ever knew how hard, things were going for you. Because, I've shared a little bit that my life was falling apart, but the truth is, I crashed. My life crashed. She said, but I always thought that all that Michael Jackson stuff was just an escape for you, for your circumstances. She says, I've got to tell you, your whole visage changed when you talked about it. I know that this whole Michael Jackson thing was an escape for me. And yes, I still believe he's alive, even though now I've come to accept my life circumstances. And Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, has, become almost synonymous in my head for Michael Jackson. Because, at one point, one of the clues for the, Michael Jackson was the fact that he bought those two pieces of art from, the king of pop art, I can't think of his name, was the Wicked Witch of the West, the picture of the Wicked Witch of the West. And he bought that a couple weeks before he died. So was he, was that, like, if he's really alive, was that some sort of clue that we should look to? Well, once again, if we're going to look to the Wicked Witch of the West, in the musical Wicked, she fakes her death. But in the book, she didn't. So which is it? Anyhow, now here it is, spoiler alert. If you're going to read Out of Oz by Gregory Maguire, then don't listen. So like I said, I went to the end of the book, and there's no big la-di-da comeback, that she doesn't come back, right? But there are only 2 sentences in the book that point to the fact that Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West, who is synonymous in my mind for Michael Jackson, and that's not an insult to him. It's just the way it worked in this mind that was desperate for something to believe in when everything was falling apart. Nanny says to Chistery, the flying monkey, oh no, I was talking about Rain, not Elphaba. I saw Elphaba in the house last week. And then Glinda is imprisoned near the end of the book. She's imprisoned for high treason. And at one point it says she hears somebody at the door, and she didn't even need her glasses to know who it was. And she says to her visitor, aren't you wicked? It sure took you long enough to get here. So we know that she's still alive. So does that mean that Michael Jackson's still alive and he's just gonna stay laying low for a long time, or will we eventually know the story behind the story? And what does that have to do with me? About as much as whether or not a fictional character like Elphaba is still alive, but it sure would put a smile on my face.